Okay, hey everybody. Back today with Gravitygirl from the Galaxy Trio from the 1967 original run of Hanna-Barbera's cartoon series of the same name. Going to be switching up to the page here real quick and letting everybody know what's going on. And just waiting for that to come up. Yay, there we go. Okay. Going to post that over to the page so everybody can participate and go from there. Now we'll start drawing. I gave her kind of an alien futuristic look, a little bit of different features just to shake it up a little bit. But very cool. Kept it with a classic animated type of feel and general look. So I think that's going to play into it really well. And she always had almost alien type of eyes to me. So I gave her the alien look and gave her the funky, almost Vulcan style eyebrows that kind of go to an arc right here, and then they tip up a little bit. They swoosh back. I always found that really cool, so I made sure to put that in there. And I haven't seen what they did to her in Future Quest, so please, if it doesn't look like that, please don't rip me a new one on that, because I haven't looked at the book, man, so I don't know. I haven't seen anything with them in it from what little I've seen. I saw some press stuff, but, like I said, I've said before, I haven't really taken an interest in that book. So if it doesn't look like it does there, it's because I haven't seen it. So anyway, I'm just cutting this in real quick. This should be a fairly short one today because of the fact that this is just like really clean and laid out. So I'm going to flesh her out here and we're going to run with it. Now she's got a really hard hairline. They gave her what they thought was a futuristic look in the 60s with the big modern stiff hair. And, they mixed it up is what they did. They went hardcore with what was cool in the 60s and then gave it a kind of a polished look or a variation for whatever they wanted to do at the time to make it look close to what they were doing in the 60s and then just have a little bit of a flair, But you got to remember, too, though, well, unless you just weren't born yet, I wasn't. But I went through a bunch of those old films, and the animation and stuff, and all of it always had it had a pop culture look to it. I mean, it definitely looked the age. It was like looking at the 70s stuff. Anything in the 70s pretty much has that classic sideburn, big poofy hair look. And, a lot of the early 80s stuff looks like that too. And it cracked me up because in the 60s, it looks like everything's kind of slick and, blown out with like a hairdryer kind of thing and whatnot. And it's just, depending on the style of who did it and where it was done and whatnot. A big thing in Japan right now is the 1980s. They're a good 30 years in style behind. They're all rolling up their sleeves from what I understand now. But then I hear that they've got the retro hipster thing like mapped out to where they're huge into the 80s stuff. And there's groups for the 50s and 60s is still real popular over there. And then I have friends that tell me, they do the modern stuff, which if you go modern, it's really, really hip and way advanced. So, it's just like here, it's pop culture, hodgepodge at best. But, this character in particular, she rings the 60s no matter what. I mean, you could modernize her and revamp her, whatever, but she's still gonna, if you go with her original look, she's still gonna look like the 60s. That's just hardcore embedded into this character. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm doing what's called a benchmark on her head, where her hair parts and rises up, and it's just where her hair creases, where she has her bangs go up and then it folds back. That's just the typical hairline benchmark. So bear with it. You dig it or you don't. But and that's kind of corny for me to say that with this character, because I'm not a hipster. No offense to anybody that is. I have friends that are, and I have nostalgic taste as well in a lot of things. But yeah, the whole living the lifestyle vibe kind of thing is, addressing the 60s and whatnot, or whatever generation you want to resonate with. It's cool, but it's not my thing. So, and I did the suit and tie thing for a long time, so I tend to do typical t-shirt and jeans type of look, because I just don't get it, and I don't want to wear the monkey suits. I'm not, unless I absolutely have to. I mean, if I have to do a speaking event or something like that, I'll slip into one. But man, I'm not into, noosing my own neck. It just depends on the occasion and what it's for. I mean, I'm not going to wear blue jeans and a t-shirt to weddings or anything like that, But not unless people are just that relaxed, which I've been to a few of those, fortunately for me, But it is what it is. So everybody's got their own vibe and character these days, and that's a cool thing. You should. Don't let anybody else tell you how to be. I mean, if it's a lifestyle choice, that's one thing, but for the most part, do your thing. But anyway, I digress, so I move on. So the reason I jumped on so late in the evening today is because of the fact that I was kicking out comic book pages, and I was finishing the last couple of those pages for my third issue of the webcomic that is now stacked and ready to go to give you guys daily pages. I believe firmly in putting all that back together so that it's all set up, and that way we don't have a production run problem later down the line. And, I don't want everybody screaming at me, "Where are your pages?" So what I do is I build up the same thing that I do with the comics. I build up a couple of issues and go from there, because of the fact that I try to do it professionally, where it's set up, 3 to 5 issues ahead of time. But it just depends if inks pan out, if colorists pan out, or whatever's going on. I don't make any excuses for it. Production's production. But I do need to get back to moving into things faster, and that's part of why I got rid of all my freelance, except for the stuff that I'm committed to, period, right now. I do have projects that I am doing for people, because when I said that before, a lot of people freaked out, and they're like, "Well, you got a job on the back burner for me, man. Oh my God, what's going to happen to my comic book?" Your stuff's still there. Your stuff's still there. It's okay. Breathe. What I'm saying is I'm just not taking any new projects. I take on quick commissions because they're fun, but for the most part, I've been moving on with that. I've got a couple of things that I've got to get knocked out, and then, like I said, when they're off the table, man, that's pretty much it. And I'm very close to being done with all of those. You know who you are if you need your stuff taken care of. And I'm still here. I'm not hiding or anything, or flaking out or vanished or anything like that, which tends to happen with a lot of artists. They say, "I want to do the job," and then they disappear. Still don't get that. Why take the gig if you're not going to finish it? But, on the other side of the coin, though, some of these guys will get the gig, they'll try to recant. They'll give you a gig and then they won't pay or whatever, and whatever agreement you go with. I mean, even if it's on spec just to get exposure, I do those as well, just because of the fact that I like projects and I want to see them get off the ground and not to have a problem. I've had a lot of books do that, unfortunately, this last year especially, I had 6 projects where the management of those projects was nil. And I ended up running most of the project for the client, and that's just not cool that I had to do that. And not that I'm nagging or anything, you know, it's just conversation, but that's coming more and more habit in the indie market, where people go, well, whatever, man, the schedule's the schedule. It's whatever for freelance, and it's for, you know, if you want to do that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yeah, unprofessionalism, it sucks. That's a technical term, by the way. But yeah, don't let that go on. Don't let that happen. Do your thing, do your part, and participate the way you're supposed to, so that we can all get it done. We can all get paid. We can all get the comics out there. It's becoming more and more commonplace for people just to dump on other people and say, well, that's the way the indie market goes. Not to be vulgar or anything, but, you know, you hear this big flush sound in the background because, you know, you just got screwed. So, and now that I did that, I'm going to have to erase it because I don't like that at all. I'm going to have to grab a, now that I did that, I don't want to put the red on there. So, I like using these little disposable pencils for their erasers because their erasers are strong erasers. And that's just, so you guys know, that's just a Pentel 5, it's a 0.5 millimeter. So just so you guys know, I like to use those for fine line work, and especially on these little sketches and cards and stuff, because they clean up so well in comparison to what's going on with if I was to use, you know, like this bad boy or whatever. That's a Stradler block rubber eraser, by the way. It's a polymer. But now here comes the hard part. We have to be careful with these because we don't want to do nurples. So, you know, we don't want to make anybody offended by anything. I don't want to get kicked off of Facebook Live for, you know, drawing in, that's not supposed to be there, that's inappropriate. So, you know, getting all crazy with it and whatnot. I've seen people do that. They'll bust each other, and it's just like, why would you do that? You know, why would you go on live and rip somebody? And it's clearly not a problem, but yet Facebook will say it's close enough, you know, if you draw simulations of stuff, which I don't do. But then there are guys that are hardcore too, and they, you know, they start screaming, it's artwork, man, it's art. You're hindering me, man, you're hindering me. Stop being the man. Stop honing in on my business, and you're honing in on that stuff and not letting me draw what I want to draw. I've seen people do that too. And they'll go full on nudity, man. I mean, they don't care. But, I mean, it all has a place, I guess. And I don't mind it if that's what you want to do. That's your thing. But, you know, I've got kitties that watch, so, got the little kitties that watch, so let's keep it clean. We're going to say she has one heck of a support system under here, and everything's covered the way it's supposed to be, respectfully, and we're going to move on from there. But yeah, if you ever wonder why I don't do that kind of thing, I've done projects like that before, and it's not something that I can't see, and that's not a cool mark from me. If she can't see my work, that's one thing that I don't, you know, even if it's later in life, if she can't see my work, that's a problem. But because if I would feel uncomfortable showing it to her, then that would be a problem. But anyway, we move on, and I'm putting in the nice highlights here and the nice shadows, just plain and simple line work. I'm not going to black those out. I want them to stay that way so that they can be a little more open and reflect the sign of the times, because in the 60s a lot of people used to do this grid work and this feathering and lining and cross hatching and whatnot to make stuff pop up without blacking it out so it wasn't hard black, because that was considered photorealism, or noir, as it were, which is French for black. That is a comic style these days, and it has been for some time now. And a lot of people, say, well, it doesn't look realistic enough for that kind of shading. You got to stop that. I hear that often. But anyway. And then I like to put in solid blacks on to contrast. I like to put in the solid blacks underneath for the neck to make it pop out just a little bit. And then we go in on this hair, and I know it's going to be red, but I want to give it kind of the modern Mary Jane or Black Widow type of heavy side shades. So we can go on this bottom side and just edge this out a little bit. And I know that's a contrast to this, but that's the whole point. It's the contrast. Because, I don't want people to be like, well, you just said don't do that. Not true. I'm contrasting that one side, and that's what I like to do, is pick up on one side of it and give it a ledge, and then go up and say, like on this piece, I'll give it a little bit of pull, I'll give this a heavy fold, and then give this just a little tiny line right over there for a light edge, and then it breaks up and gets a little shadow under it like that. Just to break it up a little bit, to be a little different. And down here, I'm going to give her this kind of old school shading thing going on right here. I'm going to break it up a little bit so we don't have it go to every single ledge where it's just one big black mass at her forehead. Not good. There's a light coming down here hitting her face, and you don't want all of it to be blacked out. It'll look ridiculous. But to go down here and shade this, and then go underneath here and shade a good block to make it look like it's got some depth and movement to it. That's a good idea. And then come in and leave, one or two of them open, like these up here. Put a little bit of a fold right there. Good deal. Now, these happen to be colored in and are very solid in the numbers. Gravitygirl and the Galaxy Trio. It is Gravitygirl here, and we have the solid black ones, and then on Vapor Man, the one that I did yesterday, has the same kind of deal for his number one. It's very solid, and we're going to highlight it on the outside like this. And I know I put in the lines for cleavage and whatnot, but these are going to be solid, so it'll go right over the top. And then Meteor Man, the second guy in the team, obviously he's going to wear number 2. In his collar, he has a full black suit, and the number 2 is called, the emblem for Roman numeral 2 is 2 bars in his collar running across his neck, which is either green or gold depending on who colors it. And then he has a black bodysuit or a green bodysuit depending on who colors it again. So take it with a grain of salt, as far as that goes. You can watch the tune and see it'll be a dark forest green, or sometimes it'll be an off gray or a black, a thin black. And I think that was because they painted with whatever colors they had around at the time that were the closest to whatever they wanted to do. So like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Do it how you want. For me, she's going to be hardcore pink and purple. That's just the way it was. She had this bright pink and almost lavender color on her tights, on her legs. She had this kind of color, this eggplant or well, not even more violet or lavender. and then she had this really dark purplish pink on the top of her unitard, and it just depends on, like I said, how you want to do it. A lot of people freak out about it, and it's like, that's the wrong color. Well, you know, not really. I mean, it depends on your perception. So it also depends on how brave you are to mix it up and say, you know, throw something in there that's different. I've seen people completely revamp her costume, and some of them giving props. You know, it's really cool. But then you get people like me that are, you know, what I've been scolded as being a purist with these cartoons and comic characters. And it's just like, you know, you're way too strict on it, man. You don't have any fun with it. Well, if you say so. I'm having a blast. But anyway, this is where we're at right now, folks. I am going to call this one. I'm going to put a little tidbit of armor scratch here and there for her little action sequences and stuff, because this is kind of a uniform suit kind of thing, and it's going to be, no matter what it is, it's going to have a little bit of wear and tear here and there. So scuff that up a little bit and not scuff her up too bad. And I hope you dig it. Like I said, she's got the alien eye thing. It's a little bigger than most eyes, and what she does is that she has this kind of weird thing going on where her face is a little more, it's humanoid, but it's not human. So, you know, maybe the future they did something to her, I don't know. They never say, but you know, they weren't really explicit. They said, you know, this is the Galaxy Trio and this is where we're at, and that's pretty much it. So, hey man, I see you guys putting notes on there. I see how you are. Sorts, t-shirts, and other barefoot sandals for me. I'm going to take it that's supposed to be shorts, Kev, missing the H there. So, Jim, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate it so much. Steve, man, you finally made it. I'm glad you made one, man. You guys are awesome. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reaching over here real quick and grabbing the card from yesterday. So now we have 2 down. We have Gravitygirl and we have Vaporman. Tomorrow, of course, is going to be the coolest guy in the group for me, which is Meteor Man, one of my personal favorites of that group. Love that guy. And I'll be working on that one. And then I have something really cool coming up. I have a special surprise, and I'm glad you're on, Kevin, because I was going to wait, man, but I'm going to go ahead and spoil it anyway. You were one of the Friday character giveaway winners, and you got the Electra. So what I decided to do was, because you wanted to have it, and you've been such a cool guy about everything, man, I added in a special treat for you, and I'm going to do part of it live because you made such a raving toss about it because of the Leia book that I'm doing for comic book covers for cancer. I'm going to throw down a Boba Fett just for you, man, and I'm going to add it into your pack, and I'm going to send it to you with your Electra, which I'm not going to show the Electra till it's done, but I will do the Boba Fett as a special for you guys, as an addition to what I'm going to be doing later on this week with the cards and stuff. Hang tight for that. Got a couple of covers to knock out, which I am behind on, unfortunately, because I wanted to finish up my book before everybody got into October. And we will see you guys tomorrow with Meteor Man. Thanks for hanging out so late. I appreciate it. Catch you tomorrow.